Chapter 13. The witch led Hannah around the side of the mansion and down a maze of stairs, into a dark corridor, and then placed her into a small cell-like room, closing the door with a bang and then locking it with a large key. The last sounds she remembered were the click-clack of heels of the witch's shiny black boots, the sound of an iron door slamming, then the turn of a key, and darkness and silence. No electronic doors. No computer system. This place was a time gone by. The smell of decay and mold flooded through the cellar and settled in the room where Hannah stood, her eyes fighting to get used to the darkness. Hannah took the hood from her head and sat in the dark, biting her nails in the cold cell, and thought about Giovanni. Where was he, and didn't he know this had happened to her? He found her before where she was safe. Couldn't he find her now that she was in mortal danger? Where is he, and why hasn't he come for me? She murmured into the dark. Was Giovanni like all the men before, who had disappointed her? He boyfriend in high school, when she thought she was the only one he dated, only to discover that he was taking several girls to the movies when she was home studying, because her parents wouldn't let her go out with rich boys who owned cars. And the one man who professed his love for her, only to turn away from her when she refused to have sex with him until they were married. Had Giovanni given up on her after he made love to her, and she was completely taken with him even when she heard there was a wife? Why hadn't he told her? She knew why. She never would have chosen to give herself to him, but considered Justin instead. But what kind of choice was that? A vampire or a werewolf? Now she was thinking that the werewolf would have been a better choice, but what difference did it make now? She may never see any of them again. Hannah's thoughts were disturbed by a rustling noise. Maybe a rat, she thought, scurrying around looking for a meal. It must have been as hungry as she felt. Then a voice came from behind her and bounced off the walls of her cell. "Is anyone there?" came a loud whisper. Hannah turned and stood still, not seeing anything. She didn't know where the sound of a female's voice could be coming from. At first she thought her mind had played an awful trick on her until she heard the voice 3 more times. On the 4th question, Hannah felt her own fear. But she fought through her fear and whispered, "Where are you?" "I'm over here," Hannah said, turning around in a circle but not seeing anyone. "I thought I heard whimpering in one of the cells, but I wasn't sure." "What's your name?" "Hannah." "What's yours?" Hannah wiped her eyes, not wanting to appear weak in front of who she thought had to be someone sent by Sasha. She steadied herself upright and calmed her racing heart. "Lisa, my name is Lisa." "How long have you been here, Lisa? Come out where you're hiding and let me see you." A moment of silence passed, and Hannah heard the voice next to her. She felt Lisa's breath on her. "Not long. The girls don't last long in here. But I've lasted the longest. I don't know why. Maybe the witch likes me, or she has some bizarre plan in store for me. All I know is she performs occasional rituals on the girls when she's here. In this very room, there were 2 girls before you. When they take the girls out, they never come back," Lisa said, her voice tired as she stared past Hannah, as if she was seeing them. "I've never been taken out of this place since they kidnapped me. Why not try to escape and disappear into the woods?" Hannah questioned, thinking that since Lisa had been there, she must know something about the place. "Yes, I tried once. This covenant of witches is away most of the time, and when they do return, they know where to find us, and we can't run very far without food and water. So they hardly feed us and give us water. They keep us weak." The sound of Lisa's voice to Hannah appeared depressed and frail. Lisa had been one of the few to run away and become disillusioned by the difficult task. Lisa's voice brightened. "But I have a plan now. I've been planning this for a long time. I've kept some water and food just for that. There are old pipes that run through my cell, and it leaks. I catch water from it in a plastic bottle I found under my cot." Lisa made a step. Hannah turned with a quick motion. She felt the presence of Lisa in the cell beside her, but it was impossible to see her where she was standing. Lisa had remained behind her. Hannah jerked her body around and she shuddered from Lisa's appearance. She hadn't expected that. "How did you get in here?" she said with a startled voice. "I hope I didn't frighten you." It wasn't Lisa who frightened Hannah, it was her appearance. How she looked. Her hair partially gray. Her eyes wide and skin dry like the few strands of hair on her head. These quarters belonged to slaves many years before, and they have false walls where you can slip back and forth among the cells. I've been inside here talking to you. I stayed hidden in the corner near that wall until I knew I could trust you, Lisa said, pointing to a wall that actually concealed a door. But how? Hannah questioned. I know everything there is to know about this dungeon. I've had time to dig and discover all the false doors in my cell. It keeps me busy. When you have nothing to do but think that you could die anytime you want to think about something else. Like getting out of here. Why haven't you dug your way out? Hannah asked. It's not that easy. I did once, and they caught us and poured cement on the floors inside the cells. See, there's cement, she said, stomping her feet on the cold floor. I just learned about these secret doors running through this place. There's one that leads right up to a bedroom on the first floor, but I have to time it just right. The weather is erratic. It doesn't usually snow this time of year, but just when I thought about running away, here comes the snow. Lisa raised her hands as if she surrendered. Why have they kept you a prisoner? Hannah said, sitting down at the edge of the bunk, facing Lisa. For some reason, I'm like a pet. They have to have something around to abuse and make them happy. I smile, and they think I like them. These quarters belonged to slaves many years before, and they have false walls where you can slip back and forth among the cells. So I entertain myself by sleeping in a different cell, wondering what it's like for the other girls who used to be here. I read their diaries when the sun comes up, and then go back to my place. Hannah listened to Lisa, wondering if she was one of them. She didn't want to say too much, she just wondered why Lisa had never been one of the girls who had been taken and disappeared into the night. Do they feed you? Hannah questioned, because she couldn't remember the last time she had eaten. Sometimes they do. And Lisa didn't say more, she just glanced around the room, and then she turned to Hannah and said, when they go away for long periods of time they bring in more food. They go New York and Italy. Those trips are long, and I can tell when they go, because of the amount of food they bring in. They're away sometimes for a month or two. That's when we would escape, but when they return, they know where to find us. We can't run very far without enough food and water. But now I have a plan, Lisa's voice repeated, coming back to the word plan. She sounded weak but cheerful. I've been planning this escape for a while. I've kept enough water and food just for that purpose. I grew up not far from here, and if I can manage to get out of the woods, I can get home and warn the town about these witches living in their midst stealing young women for their rituals. Hannah listened as Lisa spoke about her life before this. I've been in this place for a very long time. I think I was stolen when I was 18, and now I think I'm 23. Maybe older. It was a question that neither Hannah nor Lisa could answer concerning Lisa's age. Lisa looked like a little girl, she could be 8 if Hannah didn't know that she told the truth about her age. By the look of her, she had been starved to the point her legs were nothing but bones, and her entire body looked like a skeleton. Her hair used to be blonde, but it had gray streaks running through it. She wore a long blue dress with flowers and no shoes. Because the dress was torn and dirty, Hannah thought that it was probably the same dress she had been taken in years before. As Lisa turned facing Hannah, Hannah got a better look at her because of the moon streaming through the bars on the windows near the ceiling. Hannah gasped. Hannah didn't want to say much, she just watched at Lisa, and a sad look came to her eyes. Will this be her soon, she wondered. I want you to go with me, Hannah. If they don't come for you and they leave for wherever it is they go to once a month, then we have a chance. You're healthy enough to make it. I just don't want to die in here. Not at that wretched witch's hands. I want her to know that I defied her and got out. She thinks she has broken me, but she hasn't. Lisa raised her hand to shake Hannah's hand. Hannah reached over and took it, and it was like shaking the hand of a child. Lisa's hand small and bony and the handshake weak. I have to go back now, but do you mind if I ask you some questions about the outside world? I don't mind. Lisa walked over, sat beside Hannah on the bed pushed against the wall facing the door with her back to it, with Hannah sitting at the foot. The movies. Have you been to the movies? Lisa asked with a gleam in her eyes like a teenager who remembered the time she had a Saturday night out with a boy. Not as much as I'd like. I've been going to college. But I did manage to see a Star Wars movie. Lisa sat up. Really, another? She began to clap her hands, but they made a small sound. Then she huffed and steepled her tiny hands to her mouth, waiting for Hannah to tell her about that movie. And the popcorn. I haven't had popcorn in years. I'd like to have some popcorn when I get out of here. And a hot dog and a hamburger. Lisa sat smiling at the thought. Hannah described the new characters in the Star Wars movie and reassured her that there were characters from the first movie and how Han Solo had died in the previous movie, before The Last Jedi, and had been killed by his own son. Lisa seemed despondent when Hannah described Han Solo's death and asked her to stop. Lisa stood. It's time for me to go back to my cage. I'll see you tomorrow. If there's a tomorrow for us. This might be our last night. You never know with monsters like them. And Lisa wandered weak-legged to the wall, holding onto the side wall, and reaching the spot where she entered, pushed the wall with Hannah's help, and it opened slightly, and she inched through it as it closed behind her.